You walk into an empty house. The kind of quiet where you can hear your own heartbeat. No television. No traffic outside. Nothing. And within seconds, something in you tightens. You reach for your phone. You hum something under your breath. You turn on a fan just to hear it run. You weren't in danger. Nothing happened. But your body acted like something was about to. The real reason has almost nothing to do with the room you're standing in. Most people assume silence is simply the absence of sound. Nothing happening, nothing to react to. That seems obvious. It's also almost completely backwards. So what is silence actually doing to you, if it isn't doing nothing? To understand that, you have to go back further than houses, further than rooms, further than humans, really. You have to go back to the open grasslands, where your ancestors spent most of their evolutionary history listening for one thing above all else. Threats. Sound is your earliest warning system. Long before your eyes could confirm danger, your ears were already telling your brain to get ready. A snapped branch behind you. A low growl. A rustle in grass that shouldn't be moving. Your ancestors who paid attention to these sounds tended to survive longer than the ones who didn't. That single fact shaped the auditory system you're using right now to process this sentence. Here's the part most people never connect to silence specifically. In the natural world, silence rarely means safety. It often means the opposite. Wildlife biologist Daniel Blumstein has spent years studying alarm calls across animal species, the warning sounds birds and mammals make when a predator is nearby. One of his most striking findings is what happens when those calls suddenly stop. A forest full of birdsong that goes abruptly silent isn't a forest at peace. It's a forest where every animal has just spotted something dangerous and gone quiet at the same time. Researchers call this effect exactly what it sounds like, the danger of silence. Sudden, unexplained quiet has historically been one of the more reliable signs that a predator has entered the area. Does your nervous system know the difference between a silent forest and a silent living room? Not really. Not at the level where this response originates. Your brain didn't evolve a separate alarm system for bedrooms and apartments. It evolved one general-purpose system, tuned over millions of years to treat unexplained silence as a gap in information, and a gap in information, to an animal trying to stay alive, has always meant elevated risk. You can know intellectually that your kitchen is safe. Some older, faster part of your nervous system isn't convinced. This explains something almost everyone has felt but rarely names. The specific discomfort of a perfectly quiet room isn't really about missing noise. It's about missing information. Your brain is waiting for an update it isn't getting, and when it doesn't arrive, your body starts generating internal noise instead, a racing thought, a fidgeting hand, the sudden urge to check your phone, just to fill the gap with something. There's a deeper layer here too, one that goes beyond predators entirely. Sound, even mundane sound, constantly tells your brain that the world around you is still active, still populated, still continuing without incident. Neuroscientist Seth Horowitz, who spent years studying how the auditory system processes the world, has described hearing as the sense most directly wired to your body's threat response circuitry, reacting faster than conscious thought ever could. A car humming outside. A neighbor's footsteps through a wall. Even the low hum of a refrigerator. These aren't meaningful sounds individually. But collectively, they function as a constant low-level confirmation. Things are normal, nothing has changed, you don't need to act. Remove that confirmation entirely, and your brain doesn't experience peace. It experiences an absence of evidence. An absence of evidence is something your nervous system has never been comfortable sitting inside of. So silence isn't neutral. It's a blank space your brain feels compelled to fill, one way or another. This connects to something researchers found in a completely different context, away from forests and grasslands entirely. Psychologist Timothy Wilson ran a series of studies asking people to simply sit alone in a room with no phone, no books, nothing to do but think, for around 15 minutes. Most participants rated the experience as unpleasant. In one striking version of the study, a meaningful number of people chose to give themselves a mild electric shock rather than sit with their own unoccupied thoughts in silence. Not because the shock was pleasant. Because doing almost anything felt better than doing nothing inside a void with no external input. Think about how strange that actually is. A species capable of reasoning through complex problems, building civilizations, asking questions about its own consciousness, and a meaningful percentage of that species will choose mild physical pain over 15 minutes of unstructured silence. What does that tell you about how unfinished your relationship with quiet really is? It's worth asking what your brain is actually doing during those uncomfortable seconds of silence, since it clearly isn't doing nothing. Without external sound to process, attention turns inward. And inward, for a brain built primarily to scan for threats and solve problems, is not always a comfortable place to be. Thoughts you've been avoiding rise closer to the surface. Unresolved worries that were drowned out by ambient noise during the day suddenly have room to speak. The silence isn't creating these thoughts. It's simply no longer covering them up. This is also why background noise has become such a universal coping tool. The television left on for company. The podcast playing during a solo drive. The fan running at night, not for temperature, but for sound. None of this is really about entertainment. It's about giving your ancient threat detection system a steady stream of harmless input so it can stay calm, so it doesn't start treating the absence of information as the presence of danger. There's an irony worth sitting with here, gently, without recreating the very discomfort being described. The same silence your nervous system treats as a warning sign is, by almost every measure modern researchers can find, good for you. Quiet has been linked to lower stress hormone levels, to improved memory, to a kind of mental restoration that constant noise actively interferes with. Your evolutionary alarm system and your long-term well-being are, on this particular point, working against each other. The thing your ancient brain interprets as a gap in safety information is, for your modern, mostly not being hunted by anything life, often exactly what you need more of. So the flinch you feel walking into a silent room isn't a flaw. It's a few million years of finely tuned vigilance, doing exactly the job it was built to do, just aimed at a world that no longer matches the one it was built for. Your kitchen was never the forest. But the part of you that reacts to it hasn't caught up to that fact, and may never fully catch up, because it was never optimized for accuracy. It was optimized for survival, and a few false alarms in a safe kitchen, our price evolution was always willing to pay to make sure you never missed the one time the silence was real. You walk into an empty house. The kind of quiet where you can hear your own heartbeat. And for a second, before you reach for your phone, before you turn on the fan, something ancient inside you is doing exactly what it has always done. Listening for the sound that isn't there, and treating its absence as the loudest signal of all.